So today I've got a quick video for you on my top 5 most surprising film discoveries of 2023 so far. Let's boogie. How's it going, my friends? Welcome again to Cobwebs. My name is Daniel, and this is the place where we're dusting off the classics. We talk about Blu-rays, do reviews, rankings, with a focus on the past. Today, I'm excited to talk to you about this particular topic because it's actually a response video to my good friend Nathan Jones over at the YouTube channel, specifically Blu-rays with Nathan Jones. If you're not watching that, you should be. Check him out and tell him Cobwebs sent you. And he put out a video asking what are your top 5 favorite film discoveries of 2023 so far. But I like the way he worded it in the actual video. He said, what are the discoveries that surprised you the most? And I thought, that's interesting. That's a good idea. That's a good video topic. So that's what I'm going to do. Here are the 5 movies that I discovered for the first time this year that surprised me the most. Maybe they were better than I thought they were going to be. Maybe they were something totally different than I was expecting. Maybe something about the Blu-ray release I just never expected to happen. And yes, I'm going to be talking to you about movies that I discovered for the first time on Blu-ray. But let me know down below in the comments, what are the movies that you discovered this year that surprised you the most? And if you're a fellow YouTuber, please make a response video and let me and Nathan know that you did it. Without any further ado, let's get into number 5, which is The Fear. Now, you know when you're talking about movies that surprised you, you've got to talk about some Vinegar Syndrome. And this is a Vinegar Syndrome release. I actually just talked about this in my most recent wrap-up video at the end of May, talking about all the movies that I watched for the first time that month. So this is a recent discovery. Just an utterly bizarre movie. Ultimately, it's a horror movie about a wooden man doll that comes to life and kills people, but there's so much other crazy stuff going on, like stuff about evil Santa, stuff about a Christmas village, even though it's a spring break cabin in the woods horror movie. It's just so utterly strange. Now, I bought it because Wes Craven is an actor in it, and I'm a huge Wes Craven fan, but even I wasn't sure, am I ever going to watch this thing? I'm really glad I watched it. I was expecting it to be terrible. And there's parts about it that are terrible, but it's overall fairly well made and just so weird, so crazy, so many bizarre choices going on. I just could not help but be entertained from start to finish. So I really expected nothing from this, and I got a movie I'm very happy that I discovered and very happy I've got on my Blu-ray shelf. At number 4 is John Carpenter's Village of the Damned. This is the Scream Factory Blu-ray release, and the reason this surprised me is really because I was not expecting it to be good. I watched it recently this year when I was trying to fill all my John Carpenter blind spots, see all the movies that I just hadn't seen before. There were a few. This was one of them. I always avoided it because it's a remake of a classic British horror film from 1960, a horror film that I quite like. I always heard that this was a bad remake, that it's not near as good as the original, and I actually really enjoyed it. I might like it even better than the original. The original is quite good, but killer kid movies or creepy kid movies, you might say, are just never like some of my favorite movies. And if we're talking about 60s British horror, I'm probably going to take some Hammer horror films over Village of the Damned. This is that same Village of the Damned story. It's a very faithful adaptation, but this time it's a Carpenter movie. It looks like a Carpenter movie. It's utterly beautiful. It sounds like a Carpenter movie. It's got a phenomenal score to it. So it's just that classic Village of the Damned story, but it looks better and it sounds better this time. And I'm a huge fan of John Carpenter, so anything that feels like him is just going to make me happy. This movie very much feels like him, and that just made me fall in love with it. It takes place like out in a small town, out in the country. I love that kind of atmosphere, and it was beautiful. It was creepy. It's good. But we just talked about a remake of a 60s movie. How about an actual 60s movie? This is The Wonderful World of Brothers Grimm. I got it from Warner Archive, and this was kind of a premiere release for Warner Archive because it's a deluxe 2-disc special edition with a lot of special features and such. They don't usually do releases this fancy. But I didn't know what to expect from this movie. I mean, it's 2.5 hours. It's about the Brothers Grimm. It's partly a biopic about them, and it's partly an anthology showing cinematic tellings of different stories that they've done. I just didn't know what to expect from this thing. I didn't know if it was going to be any good or if I was going to enjoy it. And I absolutely loved it. I'm a huge fan of this movie. It's one of my favorite discoveries that I've found this year. It is visually gorgeous, but also it really got me in the heart because it just has a lot to say about how important pulp storytelling is, storytelling for kids or fiction, fantasy, that kind of thing. It just has kind of a beautiful message to it. I loved learning about the Brothers Grimm, at least the characters, the Brothers Grimm in this. I don't know how accurate it is, but I really love the characters, and the cinematic tellings of the fairy tales are just peak fairy tale cinema. I mean, I'm a fan of the fairy tale aesthetic overall, and it's pretty amazing in this movie, and this was just so much better than I expected. At number 2, we're back to Vinegar Syndrome with Flesh and Fantasy. Now, what really surprised me about this is the fact that this Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray even exists, because this is a movie from the 1940s. That is an era that Vinegar Syndrome's really never touched before, but they started this new line called Vinegar Syndrome Labs, where they're trying to try out different things. I think so far they've only released old classic movies, and they released a couple others I don't have yet. I'm waiting for the next sale to pick those up when the price goes down. But I'm really happy I picked this one up right away. It's a horror anthology. It's got an amazing cast of Edward G. Robinson, Barbara Stanwyck, Charles Boyer. Who else is in this? Thomas Mitchell, Robert Cummings. It's just amazing. It has an incredible cast. It's partly a noir film, but also partly a horror film. It's got, some fantastical aspects to it, and some creepy stuff, some actually kind of funny stuff. I really love this. It's a great classic 1940s movie. One of the better older horror anthologies I've seen, I would for sure. And I'm just so happy that Vinegar Syndrome did this, and I'm looking forward to checking out more classic films that they release. So yeah, this Blu-ray release really surprised me. And I was expecting good, but I wasn't expecting this good. So that was a really great surprise as well. But my number 1, I knew exactly what it was going to be. It's Secret Admirer. Now, Kino Lorber released this Blu-ray just this year, but technically I did discover this on Tubi, and I was so blown away by it. I bought the Blu-ray right away. I was so excited that Kino Lorber was releasing this. A teen movie in which the teen stuff between C. Thomas Howell, Lori Loughlin, and the wonderful Kelly Preston, who probably steals the movie, is all really good. But the stuff among their parents, which include Dee Wallace and Fred Ward, is even better. It's a teen movie about unrequited love, about anonymous love letters. It's from a secret admirer. The letter just getting passed around, a lot of misunderstandings coming about because of the letter. And the cast is just phenomenal. The soundtrack is great. It's one of my favorite 80s teen movies now. It's kind of reached like Valley Girl level for me, or pretty close to that. I absolutely love this movie, and I put it on expecting nothing. I was just like, well, here's a dopey 80s teen movie. I kind of like those. I'll turn my brain off to this. It wasn't a turn your brain off movie. Like, it's great. It's really, really smart. So I absolutely love this movie. I'm so happy Kino Lorber released it in this nice slip-covered Blu-ray. And yeah, I super recommend it. If you're not expecting much from this movie, just know I wasn't either. And I kind of got the moon with this one. That's it, my friends. My top 5 most surprising film discoveries of 2023 so far. If you want to hear me talk more about these movies or about just any Blu-rays that I've watched this year, so far I've made a wrap-up video for every month this year and December last year. That's when I started it, ranking every Blu-ray that I watched for the first time in that month. So you can check all those out. I'll link the playlist in the description below. And yeah, if you're enjoying this, just know I like to talk about old movies. I mean, I talk about 80s horror and 80s action. I talk about classic screwball comedies from the 30s. I talk about 50s westerns. I talk about 70s horror, like just all kinds of old movies. I'm just a huge fan. And if you're interested in coming on that journey, hop on board and let's do this thing. Thank you very much. Without further ado, don't forget to have some fun today, and I'll see you later.